I didn't record any of our conversation, but talking about being multilingual, which could have been fascinating to somebody, but
maybe
I didn't. I know my political views aren't interesting to anybody.
Like AI. Honestly, man, AI. Actually, so I didn't write this in anything because I don't fully understand it, but there was a huge breakthrough in protein sequencing, I guess is what you would say.
Okay, so like DNA?
Yeah, I mean, just in different whatever. They were, since like the 90s, we've been trying to figure out what are all the combinations that are possible, because once you figure out that, you can start, implementing proteins into whatever you want, basically. And because of certain models that have come out in 2024 into 2024, they figured out like a crazy way to figure this out based on a game a guy released in the early 2000s to help try to basically there was a guy who tried to release software you could install on your computer, and then you could use your computer and a network of computers
like
to
a SETI at home. Like what we did for
astronomy and things.
Yeah.
So he did that, but then he realized people were watching their monitors and they were like, well, those photos don't really match up. I think that one's better anyway. So he realized that the human element was actually important. So he made a game out of it to try to figure out these sequences and stuff. And that they just fed into AI.
And so it can do those decisions in fractions of a second.
Yeah. And they ended up basically finding as many combinations as they believe is possible last year, the end of last year, just because the way they implemented the AI models into it. And they're like, oh, this something that's been taking 30 years basically to figure out. It's just done now. It was wild.
Fascinating.
Yeah. It's all this research and stuff still coming out, but I was following that, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Because that could change.
That could be big.
That could change some stuff, dude.
That could be big.
Yeah. Was that an intro or no? I don't even know what's going on now. Why not?
That is my favorite intro that I think we have done in, what did we say? This is 7 seasons, 6 seasons?
God, I hope all that info I just said is accurate.
Doesn't matter. It was in the cold open. Here's the deal. You listen to the Lighthouse IT Solutions podcast. Anything that we play before this music that's right on, it doesn't count.
Just
you
disregard.
can't hold us accountable. We're just shooting the breeze, and you just get to take advantage of it.
I mean, we talked about AI, and, we're going to talk about AI. So.
I have news. Yeah, we're going to talk about AI.
Go.
I think that's most of what we're going to do. I think you talk a little bit about DeepSeek, and I thought it's interesting because...
Talked about DeepSeek last time.
Why don't we do the proper introductions? I'm Matt Almadeer, co-hosted, not as always, but as majorly. I'm making up words because I can.
80% of the time.
98% of the time. You're my co-host 100% of the time. Yeah, I thought it was fascinating. We started the show talking a little bit about OpenAI and just some of the fascinating things about protein sequencing. And
this is a factually accurate podcast, TM. So
TM.
Yeah, you gotta be sure.
Taco Mark? Is it TM for Taco Mark?
Taco Mark.
Why don't you Taco Mark? It's a reference to a show called The League that hasn't been on in 15 years. So there you go. Merry Christmas, everybody. No, the reason I was bringing up DeepSeek is because we talked a little bit about it last week. It's making waves. I know you have some stuff to talk about it, but what's really interesting, we're kind of seeing the TikTok effect. It's very strongly embedded in Chinese roots. And so already some states have banned it from government devices.
But it is open, and people are going through the code. They are trying to see what's going on. And we have found out that it has leaning biases towards political stuff. And for example, if you try to find out information of 1989, any sort of events.
Nothing happened that day.
Nothing happened in
Nothing happened in 1989.
And so those are things that they're trying to work out. But it is open source. So again,
so we can see those biases.
We can see them. Yeah. And now we know, and that kind of thing. It's pretty straightforward, admittedly. It's just, let's use this model that someone created that is absolutely super efficient.
Well, but it's because we think there's a reason for that, right?
Well, OpenAI believes that DeepSeek basically trained on OpenAI models.
Yep.
Which I kind of totally believe. Why wouldn't you?
It learned in a fraction of the section. We talking about on the last episode, we talked about distillation being a thing.
Yeah, these models are training on models.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what machine learning is. And
that's how we learn.
OpenAI honestly has no right to really say this, in my opinion, because they got all their information from everybody on the internet. I mean, they even came out and said so, and they're like, we're sorry.
So this is how learning takes effect. It's kind of like I learned from you this morning. We learn from each other, and then we also have factual sources.
So OpenAI is we have evidence of them doing this. And it's okay.
We have evidence of you stealing from Reddit, Google, YouTube, Yahoo,
which
major news sites, CNN, Fox,
everything. There's a reason you got to put these little anti-crawler code things in your websites.
Yeah. And even then they said, I think part of the allegations on that is that it ignored some of those, because you put that in the sitemap and you go, don't follow. And it's like, okay,
but like I won't. Still,
I'm curious about this info.
Yeah. It's funny though. The next thing I have is about this as well. But like, you should pay attention to Bing, and the reason is because a lot of stuff with Google and things have been
everything with Microsoft is very open AI based,
and Bing is letting all this happen, which makes it so that like ChatGPT and stuff is referencing Bing more. A lot of crawlers are going to Bing. Bing authority, if you will, is on the rise. And some companies are even reporting better performance with Bing ads as compared to Google ads, which admittedly is like the first time I've ever heard that. So pay attention to Bing, guys.
I think because Microsoft is one of the, supporters / investors in OpenAI. The reason that they're afraid of DeepSeek is because they are asking for funding. They want $40 billion. Mm-hmm. And, one of the rumors that I had saw is that they are closing in on a valuation of $300 billion is their value. So this is why, ultimately, when you're wondering why somebody's worried about somebody else's worth, DeepSeek is open source.
Yeah.
OpenAI is $300 billion.
Not for profit still, but will be probably for profit.
It's an expensive, not for profit.
Yeah. And again, that DeepSeek model was built on $5 million in 3 months. So,
and significantly less resources.
Yeah.
Which does, if it's using distillation, then it's able to ingest data a lot faster.
Speaking of that, though, with Microsoft and OpenAI, one of the things I have is Microsoft is actually implementing the OpenAI O1 reasoning model that we discussed last time, the Think Deeper model, to all
which is what
users.
DeepSeek is supposed to replicate. Sorry.
That's true. Well, it's the reasoning model. That's what they were, yeah.
So this is, and the reason I'm throwing these jabs in here is because I think this is why DeepSeek is so disruptive.
Yeah.
This is why everybody is talking about it. This is why everybody's worried about it.
Here's a paid subscription for Microsoft that somebody just released basically the exact same thing.
And you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. It ain't going to do much.
I mean, if you put a graphics card with the Raspberry Pi, actually
they
will.
have NPU modules.
Yeah, they do.
The Raspberry Pi has an NPU.
Again, though, like you still
it's
need
not
more
very
of them.
fast.
There's not a lot of VRAM in there that you can utilize. I don't know if you need VRAM specifically, but RAM in general.
I don't know. I've never set one up. I know I looked briefly at them, but that was months ago. So
it's kind of cool to do. I'm fascinated by it. I don't know what I'd use it for, because we could have like a local.
You're just
something.
I don't know.
There's not really. I don't have a use. If you got Copilot, it's kind of like, what are you gonna do?
But it'd be neat if you could create triggers and then make your own automations in your house. You could build your own Alexa.
Yeah, you could do like a help desk chatbot.
I'd rather
annoy all the clients.
I think I'd rather be like, hey, Malexa.
Oh,
that would be like.
I don't like that name.
I know. I was trying to come up with a fake name.
Not a good name.
Do you think that's close enough that somebody's Echo just went off?
I don't know. I don't have one, so I don't know how
hey, Alexa,
sensitive it is.
Play the song that never ends.
Is that a song that never ends?
From Lamb Chop Sing Along?
Oh, Lamb Chop. Man, that's a super old reference.
And it wasn't even on cable, so you can't say you've never heard of it.
It's true. I've seen reruns of Lamb Chop. Yeah.
So
anyway,
the O1 reasoning model is making its way into Copilot, which is what DeepSeek, we knew that this was coming because that was part of what made the DeepSeek announcement so incredible.
Because it was a reasoning model.
It's supposed to perform on par with O1.
Mm-hmm. Which is a big one.
Which is a big one.
Yep. And speaking of all that, with Google as well.
They don't want to. I think they released a new version of Gemini, right?
Yeah, they did. I don't think that's a reasoning model either, though.
I don't think so either.
They're still cruising. Gemini's not as complex yet.
But they want to make sure that they say, look at me!
Yeah, pretty much. But I got some stats on their AIO impact, which is not all in one. It's AI overviews. I thought it was AI optimization. I'm being gaslit by Google, but I've been saying AI optimization in terms of SEO recently. So, but I don't know. Anyways, Google basically has some stats that these AI overviews are causing significant declines on click-through rates, which I think we even guessed for both organic and paid search.
Yep.
And not surprising, man. When you get your information straight on the search page, you don't need to click through. What do you this is what the featured snippets thing was. This is all that. And admittedly, with featured snippets originally, before this whole AI thing, you did get some authority still when people interacted with that, and that's still within the search engine results page, not actually within the website.
But some of these summaries are really good,
and the summaries don't give you authority necessarily. So
I would say Bing's is better.
Well, Bing is, again, like you said, pretty involved.
I still maintain though that if you actually need to click through, I end up having, if I search something, I will search Bing for the Copilot results to get a summary. However, generally speaking, that only begins my search. I then have to go and do traditional searching, and it almost always ends up with me searching on Google, ironically skipping their AI part and going straight to the results themselves.
Yeah.
But I could totally see that this would, if the AI result is good enough, I don't have to click your link.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what we are afraid of happening.
Yep. So SEO, pay-per-click, and click-through rate in general, all-time low. It's a real shame, I think, because that's going to be hard to combat, especially when you're trying to get people to your website. But that just unfortunately makes social media and engagement and that kind of thing so much more important.
I think it also puts a lot of pressure on doing other media types like podcasts or video.
Mm-hmm. And just communicating with, prospects.
Because you need, because you need the human element.
Yeah.
I think it's bringing the human element as being the substantiator. We talk a lot about inbound. Well, now the AI can talk about inbound.
Yeah. And it's been growing in terms of the fact that the buying power is in, the hands of the buyer instead of the seller like it used to be. And that's been a trend for so long. And now it just jumps straight into, now the buyer has like all the power. There's like no power for the seller.
Yeah.
So here we are. And interestingly, so Google and YouTube still top 2 search engines, but as we suspected with TikTok, with people, especially Gen Z and lower, have been using TikTok as a search engine. Same with Instagram now. But finally, Instagram and TikTok are now leading, we'll call it the buyer journey for Gen Z. And what I mean by that is that product discovery and search engines are now being done via those platforms for that generation and younger.
As somebody with a
teenager in your life.
Yeah. You see it.
You see people shopping on TikTok, basically.
Instagram and TikTok, they drastically affect their buying decision,
which
I do think is interesting. You talked about putting the power of the buyer in the buyer's hands, not the seller's.
Yeah.
But
that's what I said, social media.
We talk about the human element of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that I think there's that element of handling, we'll say, the FOMO, like the fear of missing out. Like, that is a legit thing.
Yeah.
Like, this trendiness, being the first, being the leader, and not being left behind. The influencers, I hate to say it, I think from a marketing perspective, we may see a shift where video becomes more important. These short form videos, the social media, which does mean
got to get on the train.
Influencers are going to be more important than ever for marketing efforts.
Yep. But yeah, I think it's going to become even more powerful, more impactful.
Because with AI, who are you talking to? That's not really a voice. But again, I think personal touch. And this is a good thing. If you're sitting there and you're listening, how do I market my business? I got great news and I got bad news.
Yeah.
Paying for advertising, probably not going to get you to where you want to be from the standpoint of Google clicks.
Yeah.
Even our inbound marketing methodology is almost going to be second to doing content that is going to be long form. It's going to be more effort. You and I have had the discussion of, the evolution of what our content looks like. We know video is important. Tailoring that, and that means that there's a substantial labor cost for a business to do it, but this is it. And if you're not really sure what to do, or if you are a business to consumer,
oh yeah,
influencer marketing is pretty much the only way.
Hire a community manager or brand manager. And have them basically be an account manager of influencers, if you will.
This is where I hate to say it. Like, we really thought maybe the influencer style, but if you're doing B2C,
B2B doesn't make as much sense, but B2C for sure.
And there are local influencers.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
On the subject of e-commerce, though, I did want to say I got a little cybersecurity news to peg on there. We are seeing Magento, if you use Magento.
Yeah, which I think was that's the Adobe.
Adobe does own them now. Yeah. Yeah, it's their e-commerce platform. So there is a way for you to do code injections that uses the Tag Manager to download malicious code. But we've seen some real issues with Google Tag Manager anyway. So I'm not really sure, like, your opinions on what happens with Google Tag Manager, but it seems like this thing is more painful than it's worth. Like, we really shouldn't be. It's an analytics, part of the analytics package.
Yep.
But it seems to have some major security flaws, and it gets targeted every now and then.
Yeah.
And everybody runs it. You infect the server, sure, but the server doesn't actually infect. It modifies the Google Tag Manager to download JavaScript to your customers and effectively skims their credit card information.
Oof.
So it's a e-commerce credit card skimmer.
Yikes.
That just lives in the Tag Manager.
In Google Tag Manager. That's scary. That could be rolled out real easy.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to be on the lookout for that. That's just something to...
Well, definitely if you're using Magento, you need to keep a good eye on. There's some links for that. But it's a very specific tag that's used that if you see the presence of that tag in your Magento instance, then it's rendering out that you've been, affected.
Interesting. Scary. How do you watch YouTube?
On TV.
Do you really?
Yep.
So I have a home theater PC. That's how I utilize. So I don't have an Apple TV. I don't have like a Google Chromecast or any of that kind of thing. I actually have a PC in my living room that I utilize with just a remote keyboard and trackpad for my entertainment system. And if I'm watching something, it's opening a browser and then going to Netflix or Hulu or whatever. But I also watch YouTube, in the living room on my TV. And stats are now showing that people are primarily doing this as well. This is how people are consuming YouTube, surpassing mobile, which I thought was funny. Desktop was third. Yeah.
That's not surprising.
Yeah.
People are going to watch it in between on the bathroom. Yeah, you guys were bathroom breaks.
I feel like I'm unique, and the people we all know are pretty unique here. We build PCs. Like, we have desktops. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just have a tablet, a phone, and a TV.
Yeah, but I'm on the old side of this. I'm post. I am surprisingly never thought I would be. I'm post PC era.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a desktop here in the office, but when I leave work, I no longer have a PC. I use an iPad.
Yeah.
That's my predominant computer. That's my device.
You're still watching YouTube on the TV, though.
And I have Apple TVs, which have YouTube apps.
Yeah. That's the other thing, too. The rollout of the YouTube apps helps significantly in terms of, like, if you got a Roku or whatever.
And y'all have seen me at lunch. There's no surprise. We've talked about this over the past. My media consumption has changed from general streaming to I watch YouTube.
Yeah.
I almost decided to buy, except it's stupid expensive.
Yeah.
I almost bought YouTube Premium as a result.
Expensive, yeah.
That's how much content I'm consuming that I believe that I'm making a value case for it.
Well, YouTube's noticed this, and they're going to start rolling out some tools to support individuals who, are creating content for larger screens and that kind of thing for, YouTube. So that's not only like, there's like, when YouTube Red was a thing, they started doing like their YouTube Studio thing to where like they would support shows and stuff similar to how like Netflix made movies. So I think they're going to reintroduce a lot of that, but they're also putting in place like easier ways for podcasts to be uploaded, easier ways for monetization of creators and things like that. And just, I think, kind of like an overhaul of the YouTube partner program and stuff.
Because just yesterday I finished watching one of my favorite podcasts because they do video as well.
Oh, the Lighthouse IT Solutions podcast on YouTube? Yeah.
So actually, yeah, we are on YouTube. What?
I'll
have to remember to put that in the thing.
I'm surprised I didn't bring that up just now in the other part we just
talked
about.
But you did.
But yeah, but here we go.
You can now watch the podcast on the TV. Admittedly, I'm not very pretty, so we don't have cameras set up. But
It's our icons. It's the logo. And then it's a beautiful Ken Burns loop of our background.
Exactly. We'll get there.
I did have a bigger idea of us being in like a basement looking kind of thing, and like the characters sitting on couches, and then the retro TV would just like play what we have on the LFD, and like just have that as the background. But that was way more work, and I didn't have time. So
we'll get there, man.
Here we are.
All these people are hearing it first. You have ideas. So do I. We'll never implement them.
We'll see if we get there. Yeah, I'll try.
You got to do something. And that's, I think, the big thing that when we talk about marketing initiatives, you can have grand ideas, but sometimes people have such grand ideas, they forget you have to make one step forward.
Got to ship it.
And a lot of clients, they're like, I want this and this and this. And then you tell them what it's going to cost, and they go, I'm going to do nothing. And you go, no,
Yeah.
Don't do nothing. Do something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have. But as long as you're making a step towards that goal, all these people that are streaming on Twitch or on YouTube, they just started off. They started off doing something that was fun and relevant to what they had to do.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty wild, but I think that probably stays, YouTube being viewed on TV primarily. I think that stays as is for a little while. But again, that just reinforces the idea you should be on YouTube. So
it does.
Yep.
Sadly, but truly.
And speaking of social media, it's interesting, and I've heard this before from Meta, but Mark Zuckerberg is looking to, in 2025, try to release a full revamp of Facebook to be more curated and focusing on Gen Z engagement. But weirdly, he wants to kind of roll back the design to OG Facebook to make that happen. Don't really know fully how that's going to function, but it is, primarily because Gen Z prefers TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat instead of Facebook. So he's like, well, our audience is aging, and we need to, attract the younger folk. So how do we do so? And OG Facebook was successful with younger groups. So roll back.
Did you see, well, you probably didn't. You didn't really watch too much of the Super Bowl, but I don't know if you ever recap on some of the commercials.
I saw Google did like a whole bunch of small business ads. Would you like use powering AI or something like that? But
well, did you see that Ray-Ban and Meta have a collaborative? They're making glasses. Sunglasses.
Yeah, I knew that. I learned that before.
So they did a giant ad for the release of that with Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, really?
So commercials were kind of fun.
Because it's AR, right? Like that's the whole point. Or
I'm not sure. I know it's a lot of. I think they pair with it pairs with your phone.
The Meta CTO, by the way, came out with an announcement saying that he called out Mark Zuckerberg, saying if we don't double down on the metaverse, we need to stop working on the metaverse. He publicly called out his boss, though.
They all went in and then went, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Funny. So it's got cameras and stuff so that they can do like image recognition or live streaming, things like that. I don't think it projects anything. So no AR, I think there's no screen. I don't think there's any AR, but it does have like music and stuff that it does.
Yeah.
But more importantly, the cost is not unreasonable.
Really?
So I don't think there's AR to it.
Because I saw something about this really early on about the accessibility features, but I don't know what actually came from that, because at that point nothing was made. But there is a camera, and you can talk to it, so you have translate languages real time.
There's either Hey Meta, or you can hit a button.
Yeah.
But you can also listen to music and stuff. There's little speakers that are adjacent to your ears so that you can play. Honestly, I like this as an idea for a bridge between things.
Yeah.
So the other thing you can do is you can do searches, but you can do searches based on things you're looking at. So you can be like, what type of bird am I looking at? And the AI is supposed to be able to it'll use the camera, take a picture, and then figure out what that is.
It's the processing on your phone, though.
Everything is connected to your phone. Yeah.
I think that's good.
All of that is, so there's no device, but that also means that they are sunglasses. They're just slightly chunkier. It's not like the Apple VR headset where it's this giant computer that you have to wear. It's designed that it's just
offload all the processing, all the complex stuff that makes it heavy onto the device you already have.
Exactly.
I think you're good.
I think they're intriguing.
Yeah.
I really do. And they're not that much more expensive. For being a Ray-Ban brand, They're not much more expensive than what normal Ray-Bans cost.
Well, let's see what the prices are.
$300-ish. $300 to $400.
$329 for a normal. You can go large frames and have a whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, it looks like about that. And obviously you can get them in prescription lenses, which add its cost, but $329 seems to be the lowest, which is pretty good actually for, yeah, if you're looking at Vision as a direct competitor, the Apple Vision Pro, then yeah.
Which it's not. That's true AR, but this is a nice taste as to whether or not this is useful. There's a lot of features in here that allow you to interact with your world.
And
it's just using audio.
If like the Oculus team developed this, then I've got high hopes. Because the Oculus stuff is actually pretty good. So
still never used it. But I kind of do.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there are way better versions of VR, but yeah, Oculus is done good. So I can see this. Oh yeah, they even say live stream to Instagram and Facebook. I can see that being very big with live streamers.
Oh yeah. I mean, think about, if you wanted to.
You just mentioned Twitch. I mean, that's, yeah, the idea that people can be breakout millionaires because of a streaming service. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Watch me walk around. The only thing is, though, is like, can you imagine that people are just going to like walk around with mirrors? Right? So like if you want to do a selfie shot, you just look in a mirror. So you're going to have all these people like live streaming, and then every once in a while, instead of looking at their phone.
I kind of like that. That's more fun than...
You look in a mirror. So you're using that to like live stream yourself?
I mean, I guess.
I'm tempted. I'm overdue for prescriptions, so like,
yeah,
I'm tempted by it.
There's definitely like a privacy concern thing, I guess, because now you are filming everything you look at, which is kind of weird, but I don't know. Especially when you're like sitting down to work at your desk and you're like, all of the stuff I'm recording right now is kind of sensitive data.
It's like the movie Final Cut.
Oh man, Final Cut, yeah.
Such a great movie.
Embedded in your eye, though, those ones.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. That is a not funny Robin Williams movie that is phenomenally well
written. It has its moments of funny.
It's dark comedy.
It's super
It's not
dark.
meant to be a comedy.
Yeah, it's so dark.
But it is very well done.
Yeah, that's like top 15 movies for me, probably.
That one was one that I didn't know what to expect, and it was... So he also does, what is it called? Where his son dies? World's Greatest Dad.
I haven't seen that.
Is also very good. His son dies via a weird accident. So he disguises it as a suicide and writes a note. But he himself is actually a writer.
Oh.
And so he makes this beautiful note that now his son is getting credited for. And it blows up. It's kind of like years later, Netflix had that, was that 13 Reasons Why kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be based on a pseudo-true story, right? Wasn't it?
Was it a true story? I don't know.
I don't remember.
But it's like, yeah, she leaves like notes or something.
Yeah.
And that's
so the idea. So then all of a sudden he's like trying to write content and like pretend like he does this just so that he's covering up for his son. But he always wanted to write a book. And now all of a sudden he's trying to effectively profit off of this because there's demand for it. It's a breakout opportunity.
Oh, and his son was found in a humiliating accident, so he wants to like kind of save face.
Yes.
That's
yes.
What it was. Okay.
Yeah. And it was pretty good, but there was it was like Final Cut. You saw no advertising. You saw nothing about it.
Final Cut is beautiful.
It came and went, and there's more than one Final Cut, so you have to make sure this is Final Cut with Robin Williams.
Is there?
And right.
I'm curious to see from what other movie there was. Oh yeah, there is. Well, there's like 3. Oh man, there's a 2022 one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, there's a zombie horror movie. Is the one from 2022.
So there you go. We've branched out away from Nicolas Cage, and there's your Robin Williams moment. Your serious Robin Williams moment. I also had the opportunity to watch a movie called The Invisible Raptor, and if you like gore, stay away from it. But
yeah, you sent me that.
It's also an insane film, absolutely insane. All right, so while you all are looking up those movies and possibly writing them down, why don't we talk a little bit about some good news? And what if I told you that, guys, we did it? Well, we didn't. Thailand did it. There is the ransomware group 8Base that has been just disruptive and terrible for a couple years now. They started in 2022. the major core players of 8Base have been arrested in Thailand.
Is this the group that keeps getting Swiss firm, like Swiss Bank?
I believe so, because they're out in, their servers were in the Bavarian region. They had Bavarian servers. They were able to kind of like infect those and figure out where they were from, found out they're from Thailand, and they got them. So we shut the servers down, and we got the core group members.
This was a big group, okay.
It was a pretty decent group, yeah.
17 Swiss firms between April 30th, 2023 and October 26th, 2024. Yeah, it was a huge thing, and they couldn't figure out who they were. All right.
Yeah, so there we go. We got a win, everybody. We got ourselves a win.
Good stuff, man.
And the last thing that I have that I just want to throw out there, you may have noticed that your phone, if you have an iPhone, has randomly got this brand new update that nobody was really expecting. Install it.
Oh, yeah?
Do it. There's a 0-day that's came out that this addresses. Install it.
Good.
It's in the wild. It's out there. People are exploiting it. Go ahead and make sure it gets installed on your devices.
What's the version? Let's see if I got it.
Something. So pull it up here. 18.3.1, I believe.
Oh, God, I don't have it. Update now.
So there you go.
It's funny to see an Apple update that just says bug fixes and security updates.
Because usually they include fixes. They like to include features to encourage you to do it, and they like pretending like nothing is wrong.
But this one's not. It's just security fixes, man. That tells you it's real. It's important.
It tells you that it's real.
Yeah.
Well, I think that does it. I think we tackled another episode 2 of this season. Man, craziness.
Yeah, good stuff, though. Lots going on in terms of AI, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So prepare yourself to hear more about it. DeepSeek's going to keep on disrupting. So
I think so. I don't think we're done talking about what the impact of them is. I do wonder if we see some great forked projects.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a big fork that is like, this is the one, guys.
This is the one.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some cool stuff. So despite the weather recently, 2025 looking to heat up a little bit. Hopefully soon. This crap is cold.
Come on, February.
On behalf of Griffin and myself, this has been the Lighthouse IT Solutions Podcast. Look, here's the deal. We got all kinds of information. If you are a client of ours, even if you're not, there's something for everybody. Go visit our hub.lighthousesol.com. You can also go to lighthousesol.com and you can still get there, but that's where we have our blog. That's where we have some solution notes. That's where we have all of our podcasts posted. You should even be able to see, I think, the links to, we're starting to get on the YouTubes. I'm excited about everything that we have in store. There's some fun tweaks to the podcast that are coming. You didn't think we weren't going to be on YouTube, right? So that's part of the reason why you're seeing this transition. You know, if we, a lowly little IT company, need to do it, you probably need to as well. If you're curious about it, the guy sitting across from me, Griffin, he's the guy to talk to. Make sure you reach out to us if you have questions about any of that. But in the meantime, take care of yourself. Stay warm. Stay safe. Looking forward to it. We'll catch you next time on the next episode of the Lighthouse IT Solutions Podcast. Peace.